Video games and movies have gone hand in hand for a long time. When I think all the way back to my days with the Atari 2600 in the late 1970s, and especially during the early and mid 1980s, adaptations like Raiders of the Lost Ark, the game that required both Atari joysticks to not only be able to manipulate Indiana Jones, but also take care of item management, or E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which many consider to be one of the worst games of all time, a point that I beg to differ on. As a matter of fact, I just played E.T. again very recently and enjoyed myself, but that's neither here nor there. Or either a lesser-known Atari 2600 game based on an Irwin Allen disaster epic. Yes, I'm talking about The Towering Inferno, one of my favorite movies of all time. Seeing that it was turned into a video game, I thought that that was pretty darn cool. Or if we look in arcades, the Star Wars trilogy all became their own video games. The Star Wars arcade game from Atari in 1983. The Empire Strikes Back was a conversion of the Star Wars arcade game with newer features and levels that came out a short time after. And then, of course, the Return of the Jedi game from Atari Games, which I really don't have strong feelings toward either way, although I really didn't like it that much, to be honest. There was also a full motion video game that not many of you may remember called Firefox, which was based on a Clint Eastwood movie where he had to steal back a spy plane. That used footage from the movie, and in doing the flying in the game, used some full motion video backgrounds while you had the ship kind of drawn in on the screen. Back in its day, it was pretty impressive. Now, if you played it, I don't think it would really impress that many people. And then, of course, more recently, if we look back at the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis or the Sony PlayStation, we have seen movie adaptations from Jaws and Commando and Total Recall to Independence Day to Three Ninjas to True Lies. The list goes on and on and on. So the basic idea here is that whenever a movie has been pretty popular, you could pretty much guarantee that there was going to be a video game coming down the pike sooner or later. And one of those games is the topic of this particular episode of Unsealed as we move the calendar to May of 2003. In this particular month, the sequel to a movie that at least caught me by surprise in terms of really liking it, was just about to hit theaters. I'm talking about The Matrix Reloaded. Now, don't stop the video yet. I know that not everyone is a big Matrix Reloaded fan. I'm probably one of 8 of you out there who thought that the movie was decent. But it was a movie that I was really excited about, and I went to go see it opening night, and I was blown away by some of the stuff in the movie, whether it's the Million Agent Smith's fight scene or whether there were other things that were going on in the movie that just blew my mind. The imagery was so cool. I loved the soundtrack. As a matter of fact, I picked up the soundtrack within a couple of days after seeing the film. And then there was a video game that was coming out in just a couple of weeks after the movie debuted. And what's interesting about this is it's not the Matrix Reloaded video game. As a matter of fact, it's something completely different. Behold, this copy, brand new, of Enter the Matrix. And yes, it still does have the EB Games sticker for $49.99 on here. This was released at the end of May in 2003. Developed by Shiny Entertainment, published by Atari Games for the PlayStation 2, the Nintendo GameCube, and I believe it was also for the Xbox, and I think there was a PC version as well. Now, what makes this game stand out is that, again, it's not based on The Matrix Reloaded, and it's not based on The Matrix. No, where this game's plot takes place is in between those two films. It is a totally original storyline using two characters that are secondary characters in both movies, and yet Neo isn't here at all. So you play as either Niobe, who is, I believe, Jada Pinkett Smith, or Ghost, who is another secondary character. You pick either one of those two, and you're playing a storyline with events that take place after The Matrix, but before The Matrix Reloaded, or leading into The Matrix Reloaded. All of the movie sequences, which are full motion video, were written and directed by the Wachowski brothers, who were, of course, the directorial duo responsible for the Matrix movies. So they believed very firmly in the video game being kind of a go-between, kind of like the Animatrix was a direct-to-DVD go-between for the Matrix universe. This was kind of the same game. So this is still sealed, by the way, and you can see the tag at the top here. And again, the EB Games sticker. Boy, how I miss Electronics Boutique. Maybe you do too, but I certainly do. Here is the back of the case. In the War to Save Zion, what part will you play? let's take a look. Oh, by the way, one of the other cool things here, and it's really hard to see, but if you move the game case up and down, you got the little lenticular tricks going on there that makes it look like the computer background, kind of like the movies. Very, very cool there. So there's not a lot to read on the back of the case here. Unparalleled film collaboration and a true Matrix experience. Exclusive film footage from the creators of the Matrix trilogy and battle alongside the original motion picture cast. So there you go. That's all that is here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to open this up and then we're going to talk about it. And I have something else special to show you in a little bit. But let's go ahead and try and get this open. And I need to try and do this on camera. Oh, yeah, you can hear it. There it is. It's weird watching yourself open things in camera. There we go. And then we will take off the ID sticker. Maybe. There it is. There we go. And there we go. So let's go ahead and open this up. Let's make sure that the disc doesn't fall out. Thankfully, it does not. And here is what's inside. You can see the manual and the disc, which is the same box art as the cover. We're going to go ahead and take the instruction manual out, as we always do. And the manual is in color, which is awesome. I mean, they really gave this game the grade A treatment, if you ask me. So here's what the inside of the manual looks like, talking about starting the game, saving and loading, all that other stuff. There isn't a story here, per se. It does talk about Niobe, Ghost, and Sparks. I do remember a lot of Sparks in the Matrix films. But not a lot in terms of the story. There's a great soundtrack here, if you like the Matrix soundtrack, that is. Juno Reactor is featured. Cell Dweller is featured. Let's see, Evanescence is featured. Going Under, I think, is played at the very end, if I remember right. Fluke, Clawfinger, Rob D's Club to Death is also here, which is very synonymous with the Matrix films. So the basic idea here, this is an action game where you are going and you're punching and you're shooting people and you can get into bullet time and you can do some really, really cool things in the game. There are also some driving sequences as well. The game isn't perfect, as a matter of fact. It's probably slightly above average in terms of how the execution is pulled off. There's a lot of running that goes on, and there's some platforming that doesn't necessarily feel as tight as it should. There are some questions sometimes as far as where it is that you should be going. Sometimes levels will just kind of end abruptly, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But nevertheless, this was a very ambitious project and one that I thought was very, very cool when it came out. I still think very highly of this game, despite its flaws, because of the concept. I thought that the concept was unique. I loved the fact that you were playing this side story or this go-between story between two films that I really enjoyed. Again, don't boo me because I like the Reloaded. I'm just one of those people, I guess. It's a neat game, and it's more than that. I think it's a really neat experience if you're a Matrix fan. If you haven't played it, you owe it to yourself to check it out. So the cool thing that I wanted to show you is that I still have my strategy guide for the game, even though this is a new copy. So here is the strategy guide right there, and I got to kind of move in on the camera a little bit. I still have my poster. There is a poster in here that kind of folds out. And it's, So the poster is pretty cool. And this is one of the neat things about video games during this time, is that strategy guides were definitely welcome additions. Even though there was internet back then, I could jump online and I could look up answers to things that I was stuck on in a game, but it was always nice to kind of have one of these by your side that if you were stuck in a game, you could just open it up. And back then, cell phones weren't smartphones. You weren't really able to look things up on a cell phone like you are today. You'd have to get up, you'd have to go to your computer, you'd have to bring up GameFAQs or whatever website you were going to look at, and you'd have to try and find the answers that way. And in this particular game, one of the other neat things is there's some actual, well, hacking that you can do to unlock some features in the game and to unlock some other cool stuff as well. And the strategy guide here actually has not only a walkthrough for the whole game, but also has a walkthrough for the hacking as well. You don't have to look at it, but if you get frustrated with it, or if you just want to open that stuff up right away, you certainly can do that. I thought that this particular strategy guide was important while playing the game because it is very kind of easy to get lost and miss certain objectives. So I thought that was a neat thing to have. So it is nice to have this without having to look at my cell phone all the time. And it's yet another one of those relics from gaming days gone by that I miss a great deal. It's sad that Prima Games has kind of left these by the wayside. This here, who is this? This is Brady Games here that did this particular guide. So I think that that's pretty neat. So that is a look at the Enter the Matrix. There was one other Matrix game that I think was a little bit better, at least in terms of execution, called The Path of Neo, which, unlike Enter the Matrix, is based solely on Neo and takes him through the movies and then beyond. I thought that was a pretty neat concept as well. It's a game that I've looked for new, but the price on it is pretty crazy, so I haven't been able to bring that to you. But maybe at some point down the line, if I can find one that's not terribly expensive, I will definitely do that. In terms of the Matrix movies, I keep hearing these rumors that the Wachowski brothers are doing another one. I believe that Keanu Reeves said he would be on board. I'm all for that. And heck, if they're bringing Keanu Reeves back as Ted Theodore Logan for a new Bill and Ted movie, I can definitely be up for him bringing back Mr. Anderson, bringing back Neo one more time and seeing what he can do. I think that Keanu Reeves can do anything, and the guy is just that darn good. So if you've played the Enter the Matrix before, if you have any experience with it, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. It'd be really great. I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed not only shooting it, but talking about Enter the Matrix as well as movie-based video games in general. They're not always great. They're not always as good as the movies that they're based on, but I think at the end of the day, it is really neat to be able to play as some of your favorite characters or put yourself in some of your favorite movie universes and be part of the thing that you enjoy so very much. Thanks for watching this episode of Unsealed, everyone. I really do appreciate it. And until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.